Oxford defines propaganda as, quote, information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Lots of puh sounds in there. That's gonna sound great on the mic listening to this while I'm editing it. I love propaganda. We all know that autism makes you immune to it, and whenever an autist sees through the lies, it's the best feeling in the world. You are unable to trick me, big media. I'm far more media literate than you will ever be. One of my favorite pieces of propaganda has to be the video game Dustborn. I love this game so much, it will hold a special place in my heart. The horrible writing, the shitty pace of the game, and the god-awful characters, I love it all. But there is something about Dustborn that people seem to overlook. It was propaganda targeted at adults. What would happen if Dustborn was intended for teenagers or even kids? Well, I don't have a good video game example for this question, but there is a TV show that kind of fits this. The episode is called The Gatekeeper, and it's from the show Moon, Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Moon, my loyal viewer, if you're listening to this, I am so sorry you have to share a name with this god-awful TV show. Believe it or not, this episode was actually cancelled. Keep in mind, Disney will air stuff like this.
Excuse me, which of these products would you recommend?
Oh, well, these are the tampons I usually use.
Thank you.
I prefer pads. They're more comfortable for me.
Thank you.
I always get the ones with wings.
Thank you.
Get unscented and bleach-free if you can.
Thank you.
Yo, my daughter loves these.
Thank you.
These might be easier if it's her first period.
Thank
These
you.
are really environmentally friendly.
But apparently this episode was too much even for Disney. This episode is all about a trans athlete and her teammates being locked in a magic escape room by a horrible bigot who only wanted to play a fair game.
Your team captain used to play on a boys' team.
I'm just trying to communicate that what you're saying isn't news and also that I don't care.
But that's not fair. This is a girls' volleyball league. Only girls can play.
Brooklyn is a girl.
Oh, I'm so sorry about your coach. Shame you'll need to forfeit. Lady Leopards, warm-up time! Girl power!
The show tries to make it out that Coach Queef is just being a bigot, but she does have a point that one of the opponents being a guy is an unfair advantage to her team. The show tries to say that, oh, it's not a big deal, it's in the rule book, so it's okay. But take a wild guess as to whom is the most athletic person on the team. Isn't this hilarious? The writers try to say that it will be a fair match, that it's no big deal, but we can see that she is pretty damn strong and can jump pretty well. She is very athletic. Really great job shooting your primary message in the foot. You gotta love seeing their propaganda fail because they're too dumb to write it well. Maybe this is why Disney pulled the episode, because it didn't meet their extremely high standards for propaganda. The episode itself has a lot of pacing issues. It's constantly cutting back and forth between the volleyball team and another character trying to stall the match. I get it that it's hard to write a compelling segment for one of the characters stalling an episode, but it doesn't do it well. But hey, they gotta stretch out, the 22-minute runtime somehow. On top of that, the jokes just aren't good, and it relies way too heavily on bright, flashy images and like it's exploding in your face. It's very obnoxious. Towards the end of the episode, there's a very bad montage where they're going around in a video game-esque world, just destroying shit. It has a couple references to other video games here and there, but the problem is kids aren't going to understand these references. Do you honestly think a 7-year-old today would understand it's dangerous to go alone, take this, and where it comes from? I highly doubt any kid is going to understand where that reference really comes from. Wait a minute. Did you hear that? I knew it. That's the Sonic the Hedgehog jumping sound effect. Like, wow, how lazy could that be? You just rip a sound effect from another video game with your video game montage? I don't care if that's just supposed to be some cute little Easter egg. I'm gonna use everything I possibly can to rip into this episode. Like, I already hate Sonic the Hedgehog enough, so there's Sonic the Hedgehog in this DEI crap episode, so now I have even more of a reason to hate it. So as the team is dealing with the escape room traps, we see them get, banged up and bruised, a couple scratches here and there, their clothes are torn up. But once they escape, they're not tired at all. They're perfectly fine. You would think that after the montage that they'd be a little bit tired, but no, they're also strong and independent. Even their clothes go from being torn up to perfectly fine. We don't even get to see the volleyball match that is the main focus of this plot, which that's just fucking lazy. You know what? That's a good adjective to describe this episode. Lazy. It's lazy propaganda, lazy writing, and lazy animation. Now, I'm sure the animation got lazier over the course of the episode because it did get canceled, so they didn't really have the time to finish the ending, but some of these shots just don't look good, especially all of the still image shots. Those just look so fucking lazy. It's also really funny seeing how the trans athlete has a testosterone-induced roid rage tantrum whenever things get difficult. So yeah, in the end, they get out of the escape room and the dummy-thick Coach Queef gets kicked out. Yay! What a great episode that's totally not just an excuse for someone on the writing staff to tell one of their elaborate fantasies where they're the trans hero that fights and beats bigotry. Mind you, she was completely in the right to be worried about an opponent having an unfair advantage, but whatever. So I know what some of you might be thinking. What a waste of time! This episode is horrible and deserved to be cancelled. And you know what? You're right, but this episode didn't have to be like that. Now allow me to use my autistic powers to fix this episode. First and foremost, remove all of the trans and non-binary woke bullshit. Doesn't need that. Remove the propaganda. This episode focuses way too much on this DEI crap, so it wasn't able to make a good message for the child audience that it's targeted towards. Kids hear the power of friendship message all the fucking time, so with a few changes, we can actually use this episode to give a good, thought-provoking message to kids. Okay, so now that we cut back on all the woke propaganda bullshit, what do we have to work with? Well, we can make the coach too worried that she will lose the match, so she resorts to this trap to get the win. Not because the opponent is a guy, but because all she cares about is winning, regardless of how she gets the win. We cut to the escape room, and as they're solving the puzzles, we see that they're getting more and more exhausted. Even though they do escape, guess what? They fell for the real trap. That they would be way too tired to play the game after getting out, which gives the coach's team an easy win. Now the group has to make a hard choice: forfeit or play. They are too tired to win, but it's still important for them to play the match regardless if they win or lose. We can see them fail to play well, that they're exhausted, they can barely move, and that would add some good drama. Do we really want to watch a match where we all know the outcome before it's even done? But they choose to dedicate their time and effort to this sport, so they should see their choice through to the bitter end. Also, the episode said that 2 of their teammates were just there for a PE credit.
That means all of you, even if you're just on a team for a PE credit.
They didn't care about playing the sport, so now they have to play in a legitimate match. Because they weren't in the escape room, they're not tired. They thought it would just be an easy credit, but now they have to accept the responsibility that comes with joining a sports team. This would be a good, nuanced message to teach kids that, hey, life will throw some crap at you sometimes, but you should still see things through to the bitter end no matter what. That life is not only about winning or losing. So even though the opponent team wins, we can still show that it's a hollow victory. That the enemy team is not satisfied with how they won the game. The coach wanted to get a win no matter what, without even thinking about how the team she is coaching would feel. So you know what? They would walk over to the main group and say that they are really inspired and respect the people that played to the bitter end. Although the main cast loses the match overall, they still win the respect of the audience and the people that they fought. Look at that! Kaiden Chaz just wrote a cool and compelling story that does not force some DEI bullshit. It has a good message, and you know what? We could actually see a cool volleyball match. Look out, Hollywood! Kaiden Chaz is on his way. This episode perfectly shows why this kind of propaganda DEI crap fails. It focuses way too much on selling kids the message, and all that time that is spent on that propaganda could have been used to tell a good story that kids would actually be able to care about. But these people are not writing a kids show for kids. They're writing this crap for adults who are mentally ill and can't fucking grow up. They are writing this show for themselves because it makes them feel good. Look at me, I'm gonna make my self-insert trans athlete character the hero. It's no wonder why kids would rather watch shit like Skibidi Toilet over this. So there you go, you got to hear my thoughts on this episode. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and you know what, subscribe. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I know I will, because I'm going to be watching some good quality TV shows.
Triplets born, the throne awaits. A seer warns of a deadly fate. Give up your children, separate. Bide your time, lie in wait. Sonic Under.